Do you swear to tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You are now under oath and subject to the penalties set forth in Title 18, Section 1001 of the United States Code. We welcome you today, and you can now give your 5-minute summary opening statement, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm very much encouraged by what I have heard from you today, that you do plan to move on this and to investigate this matter. And that is basically what my family and I desire, is to get to the bottom of this and make sure that it never happens to another family, because we have lived a nightmare. We will be living this nightmare for ages to come. It's something that probably we will never really be able to get closure, because it was just such a useless thing that happened to my husband. I don't have any notes. My husband hated notes. Obviously, he can't be here, and I'm here on his behalf. So I'm just speaking from the heart, and I think he would not want me to have notes. He didn't. He never read. He always spoke. I was fortunate enough to have been married to this amazing man for nearly 56 years. And I won't say that it was always pleasant or smooth or anything, and I don't think any marriages are, but we worked together in his office. We were married when he was in law school, and I worked and helped him make his way through law school, and then we moved to Albany and made our home there. And he immediately began to get involved in civic matters, community matters. He taught Sunday school at 42 years and was still teaching when he passed away. He was a gifted speaker. Really, I want these people to know what kind of person that has perished because of their lack of concern. My family is bitter. We are angry. We're heartbroken. We're devastated. And I'm just kind of here begging you to do something about the matter. I cannot say enough good about him. He was bigger than life in any setting that you put him in. And I worked in his office alongside of him, so I have seen all sides, and I have seen him interact with all classes of people in all situations. And he had a gift of working with people. He was compassionate. He wanted to help the people that needed it. He was always wanted the victim in any situation to be taken care of and given full consideration. And it's ironic that he winds up the victim in this. My family, I can't begin to tell you what I have lost. My soulmate, my partner, words can't describe. Our older children, our older grandchildren, he was their anchor, their rock. They looked to him for advice. He guided the older ones through college and helped them decide what steps or what direction that they wanted to take. Our oldest granddaughter became an attorney based upon her appreciation, I think, for him and the work that he did. And he had 2 more years left in his term as judge. He planned to complete that term and go in practice with our granddaughter and help her get started. Now, she has no one. Our younger grandchildren have lost the best playmate they ever had. He played anything that our grandchildren asked him. They could dress him up. They could do anything. And he was happy to do it. I mean, they all wanted Pawpaw. Our youngest granddaughter asked him, even when gas prices were so high, and they still are, asked him, "You drive me around, Pops, and let me just read." And he would get her in the car, and he would drive and let her read her books. She's now in the 6th grade, and she's an avid reader. But these are some of the things that we're going to miss. He had a brilliant legal mind. He studied the law. Every weekend on Friday, he wanted all the opinions of the appellate courts printed out. And that was his weekend's reading. He would get kind of miffed at us if we didn't get it done, because that would ruin his weekend. Now, he wasn't a sick individual. He was healthy. He walked 3 miles every morning before I would even get out of bed. He wanted to stay active. He didn't have the appearance of a 78-year-old man until about the 2nd injection. And then we began to see the difference. Where he had walked those streets every morning, he was stumbling, he was losing his balance, he fell often, he began to have headaches, which he never had before. And I was really concerned by his appearance. He had the look of someone who might have cancer. He had a physical examination just maybe 2 weeks before he fell sick, before he came sick, and they found nothing wrong. The only problems he had were kidney stones and allergies, neither of which I think would have taken his life. On the 11th of September, he began to have numbness in his hand, and we begged him to go to the emergency room, and he declined. That evening, he had a bad headache, and then he told me that 2 fingers on his hand were not right. He couldn't use those 2 fingers. Then it became his fist. He couldn't. But he still would not go to the emergency room. He just was an individual that was not sick that much, and he wasn't going to go to doctors. He just didn't go until he had to. The next morning, of course, he had been up, and when I got up, he was hollering for me out in the kitchen. He had a horrible look on his face. I'll never forget that expression. And he said, "My legs don't work." He said, "I've been out twice to get my paper, and I've fallen twice." Our daughter is a nurse, and I called her, and she took him to the emergency room. I believe they did a CT scan there, and it didn't show anything, but based on his symptoms, they transferred him to Vanderbilt in Nashville. To back up, he had had a car accident in March, the last of March, and had injured his lumbar and cervical spine. And he had gone through the physical therapy. He had done everything the doctors had told him to do in an effort to try to get better, to be able to work was number one on his mind, get back on the job. He was transferred. He was referred to a Dr. Abrams, a neurosurgeon at St. Thomas. And that's where he received these injections, at the St. Thomas Neurosurgical Outpatient Center. They admitted him to Vanderbilt on the 12th. He immediately, just within a day or two, started declining fast. I mean, rapidly. His speech became slurred. He lost the use. He had no grip in his left hand. He could not move his left foot. He had no eye-hand coordination. He could not feed himself. it was a nightmare to see this man who was perfectly healthy one moment and then just so quickly going downhill, and everything the doctors were doing for him was to no avail. The medicine, whatever they did, it was not helping him in the least. And he just declined so rapidly that on the 17th he passed away. And people, it was not an easy death that we witnessed. And these are human beings that these committees, the FDA, the NECC, whoever is responsible, I want them to know their lack of attention to their duties cost my husband his life, cost my family, cost them a loss that we'll never recover from. And if you don't do your job, it may not appear to be anything to you, but you are affecting human lives, valuable human lives. My husband was valuable to us. And I cannot beg you enough. Bipartisan, go, I don't care what party, work together. And
we will do.
Legislate this so no other family has to go through what we have.
Ms. Lovelace, thank you very much for your poignant testimony, your statement. I'm just